Hey, what's up, Giants fans? Welcome to another episode of Giants Talk. I'm Cole Kuiper here with Giants insider Alex Pavlovic. The Giants take the series versus Cincinnati, but it's a very weird series, and there's a lot to be said about the last game in it. We'll talk about that, plus questions from listeners previewing Giants versus D-backs and much more. Before we get started, Giants Talk is presented by Mancini's Sleep World. Save up to $1,200 on the best mattresses at the Mancini Sleep World Labor Day sale. And that's backed by the 365-night comfort guarantee, which gives you a whole year to try your mattress and make sure it's giving you the comfort you deserve. You'll be over the moon with a new mattress from Mancini's Sleep World. Okay, Alex, like I said, Giants take the series against the Reds, which feels like this would then be a really positive, glowing podcast. I mean, this is the first time the Giants have taken a series in a month.
Yeah, should have been a positive podcast. Instead, might be the worst way to not sweep a regular season series in MLB history.
It absolutely has to be.
I amazingly, the blowing a 6-run lead has happened, I think 163 times in history.
Mm-hmm.
That's never happened to the Giants before. But I bet it's a very small percentage of those that are third game of a sweep. And even if you whatever percentage that is, there's no way it's a team that was in August trying to sweep for the first time.
Exactly.
There's just no way anyone has been yeah. I mean, that's the second worst ninth inning collapse I can remember. The first was Game 4 of 2016 postseason against the Cubs. I mean, this is obviously the magnitude's nothing. We've seen worse collapses. We've seen in bigger games, but just in terms of I don't know, just how bad the whole thing was. So
like you said, because of what they're doing this year, because they haven't swept a game, because it is or a series, because it's so late in the year, this was a uniquely devastating way to blow it. That being said, bullpen's exhausted, a lot of injuries led us there.
Yeah.
It makes sense, but seeing all those numbers come out, the Giants had been 2,208-0 entering the ninth with a 6-run lead. That's just, of course, it would be the 2026 Giants who ended a streak, quote unquote, like that.
It is very similar to 16, where that playoff series ended that way, and you're no, if it had to end this way.
Yeah.
So, and there's losses like this, or the one in Boston, you're just kind of had to go this way.
Yeah.
So this is who they are in 2026. Ironically, 10 years later, this is who they are. But yeah, you start seeing the numbers, and I was hosting the post-game show today, so we're sitting there kind of watching this train wreck in slow motion, and in my head I'm I guess we're redoing a whole show potentially. But then you also are there's the walk-off potential. Emilio Pagan's not very good on the other side, so maybe this is a whole swings back around. And then the stats start coming in, first time ever they've blown a 6-run lead in the ninth inning. They've only blown a 5-run lead twice since this started being tracked in 1901. So this is truly I guess just appreciate it. This is truly unprecedented baseball.
I'm glad it was you doing post game today, because we've talked about this on the podcast, and a game getting blown in the ninth or getting walked off makes it for such a difficult scramble to execute what you're going to talk about on post. And this had to have been one of the worst of that, because you guys are prepping. Sweep is here, all kinds of good upbeat content to end the series, and the rug just gets pulled.
We kind of have a discussion about who will be on the show afterwards. There's obviously the on-field interview, the one that Willie Olas does the Powerade dump, and then there's a second interview usually when they win at home. And we're kind of sitting there going wow, pretty good collection today.
Yeah.
Jonah Cox is a great choice. Logan Webb, if he wants to come out, would be a good choice. And then Drew Gilbert's a fantastic choice. And Shea Whitcomb, who Giants fans don't even really know, but he had a home run. So, but it was introduce him, so you go through and you're there's a lot of great choices today. And then just all of a sudden it's nope, this whole show's going to be different. I do want to give credit. I did the show with George Contos, and we're sitting there in the top of the ninth, and when Bivens came back out, he just kind of goes, ugh, I
Yeah.
don't know. And nothing against, he's like, nothing against Spencer, just like, he probably thought he was done. And, they go out and score 3 more runs, and he kind of saw it coming, and it started to spin, and we're both just looking at each other like, huh, this is a big lead, but just feels like it's not that big a lead, actually.
I'm absolutely at the point where I don't want to see a Giants reliever cross over from one inning to the next ever again this season.
Yeah, this one's really tough too, because Spencer Bivens is like a long man. Like
Yeah.
and then you also, in theory, you're like, well, my counter to him was they just added to it's a 6-run lead now. Like, he can go out there and get 3 more outs. Like, this is what he's here for. This is actually like perfect. But there is just this adrenaline thing. And if you watch it, like when he comes out, like he hasn't pitched, he hasn't been in the big leagues basically at all this year. So like looked like he was pretty like juiced up when he got back to the dugout. And in a weird way, like I think they would have been, I actually think they win this game if, and this is obviously you want the Drew Gilbert moment there. I actually think they win this game if they don't tack on in the bottom of the 8th.
That's an interesting take.
It's like a 3-run lead. Dylan Smith's like a little tired, I guess, but still, that's 3 outs for him. He's pitched pretty well the last few weeks. I think it's a weird way. It's like cleaner to try to get, because we've seen this. It's so hard with the inherited runner thing that you come in and all of a sudden hey, come and save everybody. The bases are loaded.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like it would have gone differently, but I don't know that there's like any blame to be placed other than I don't know that Dylan Smith needed to pitch in a 5-0 game on Monday. If he was Tony said afterwards, like he's kind of on fumes. So there's a reason he's on fumes probably. And also going back to Boston when they stretched him out, but it's a tough one. Cause also to your point earlier, like they lost 2 starters early in games to probably season-ending, at least 1 season-ending injury, probably 2 season-ending injuries. So you're also accounting for like a ton of bullpen usage.
We're looking at the 9th here. It goes home run, single, walk, grand slam. Basically, the wheels fall off from there. Could not have gone worse. 3 pitchers, 2 home runs. They bat around to the 9th, which is never good. Alex, the Reds scored 7 in the 9th inning. That is better than or equal to 89.5 of the Giants' complete game totals this year in 1 inning in a big 9th.
And they look dead in the water for 26 innings in this series. Like I was going to lead this podcast by saying I'd never do this, but the Reds should fire somebody on Thursday, because it would have been that, like, to get swept by a team that lost 2 pitchers to elbow injuries, that literally started a AAA lineup plus Rafi Devers on Wednesday and for most of this series. And it's just like absolutely scrambling. And this Reds team that I know, I read someone who covers them wrote today, it's like the most disappointing Reds team in history, because they actually like had expectations to make the postseason. They just looked flat for 2 games and 8 innings, and then came alive there.
Yeah. So we can take a look at the rest of the series as well, because even before Wednesday happened, I feel like this was a very weird series, right?
There were so many little storylines that we wrote down in our little notes here over the course of 2.5 days. So Wednesday's lineup, I'm not even going to say the names here. I'm just going to say where they were on opening day. Leadoff hitter, AA. Number 2 hitter, I'll say the name. It's Rafi Devers. He's an actual big leaguer. Number 3 hitter was in AAA. Number 4 hitter was in AAA. Number 5 hitter was in AA. The number 6 hitter was in AAA for the Rockies, not even the organization. Number 7, he was on the bench. That's Christian Koss. Number 8 hitter was in AAA. The number 9 hitter was in AAA for the Astros. Like, this is literally, I can't imagine. This is the weirdest lineup you could imagine in August. We've seen September call-up lineups. Remember that year when Buster had surgery and they traded McCutchen, and it was like the most random groups for a few weeks. But this is like a series in August, and all of a sudden it's Willie's down. Bryce Eldridge goes on bereavement. Jung-Gu Lee goes down during the series. it literally was Rafael Devers and the Sacramento River Cats.
See, I don't think this is the first time this year it's felt like Logan Webb was just on the field surrounded by children, I guess, for lack of a better word. Like, he's just the veteran on the team. Devers is there as well.
Yeah.
But he somehow keeps being the guy in these hodgepodge, I don't even know how to describe it. Yeah, daycare games.
I think we said Logan's like on an island like a few weeks ago. It is truly so the lineup thing's crazy. It is, I mean, this is the situation they're in, and it, you know, you lose multiple guys to season-ending injuries. You lose Adamas now. Eldridge missed the 3 games. Harrison Bader had the Harrison Bader things go on. So it's this is kind of the situation they're in. But all these other things in the series, like Tuesday, Carson Seymour gets his first save. Anthony Molina gets his first win as a Giant, pitched very well. And Nate Furman gets his first hit. It was just like a competition to see who would get the lineup card after this game. One thing from Tuesday's game, this has never happened to me in my career, which goes back like 15 years. There were multiple guys who played in that game who I had not had a chance to meet yet.
Wow.
Molina got traded, goes to AAA. He's here for a day and he pitches. And Shea Whitcomb shows up on Monday, and I was off Monday. So it's just kind of the state of the Giants right now. Like, these aren't even guys who are in big league camp or guys who've been around for a while. Let's see. We'll get to the pitchers back-to-back days. Tony Vitello ejected for the 4th time this year.
Tony Vitello ejected very early in Wednesday's game. And obviously barking at the ump, but was he barking at Ellie De La Cruz too?
I thought it was the ump mostly.
Okay.
But I don't know. He also, are you wearing a backwards hat in honor of his post game?
No, but I just think the backwards hat looks better.
He podcast.
Did. But hey, I'm all for backwards hats in baseball. Ken Griffey Jr. was the icon of my youth, and he instilled that in me.
Yeah, he was. I felt like a bit of that umpire, who was it, Blakeney. He years ago, I think 3 or 4 years ago, he tossed Brandon Crawford for like slightly politely arguing. Well, he was a little sassy, probably arguing a little bit a check swing too, and it was like Crawford never got tossed. So
yeah,
he has a little thing going, like maybe some anger things.
That's
behind the plate there. We had Brady Singer.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that one next. What did Drew Gilbert do to piss off Brady Singer?
Nobody has been able to explain that. I think the best explanation was Tony after Tuesday's game, where he was very passionate about Jung-Hoo Lee. Like, why would anyone ever, like, I don't think they're throwing at Jung-Hoo. I think that one got away, but like how you can never be mad at Jung-Hoo Lee. And then he kind of mentioned like, and the other guy kind of pisses a lot of people off. So Brady Singer's a Florida guy. There's obviously a Florida, Tennessee thing, but they're
years apart.
Too different in age.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think this is like maybe put a little like pin in this one. Drew's having a really good second half.
Yeah.
It's a positive. I think there's a few people around the league who maybe in the past, or he might have ticked off their friends in college, or like we've seen some of the clips of him in college. I don't know. No one really had an explanation for him, but
I love that. The main one I heard was that there was drama earlier in the year between the Giants and Reds when Eric Miller kind of was jawing at them after shutting them down to end a game, but that he's not even on the team anymore.
Yeah, that's neither. I mean, it's like maybe someone who Drew annoyed years ago and Brady Singer's close with them, or that's just me speculating, or
someone needs to do a deep dive here, because you piqued my interest. We'll put it that way.
Questions were asked. All I know is Tony's mentioned a couple times that like Drew has some guys who don't like him, and this is not a knock on. Like, we see the way he plays, right? And like we know some of the way he played in college and the bravado and all that. So like,
I love that.
Yeah, it's great when he's on the team you root for. It does not shock me that there might be guys around the league who maybe have held some sort of grudge. It also could have been the Eric Miller thing, but like you mentioned, he got traded. And also it's game 2 of the series, so kind of lame to like wait a whole night. And then
you had a chance already.
There's really no explanation.
Do you know who else seems to have beef with Drew Gilbert? Is the outfield wall.
Yeah, I thought that was bad.
Thank goodness he came up the way he did.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he even looked rattled once he got up. But I don't know if I remember seeing a guy leave eye black on the wall.
He has really had a nice few weeks here, and I think we're bringing our bright spots segment back. So we'll but I'll just move this one up here. I think Drew and Jonah Cox like showing some flashes. I personally am intrigued by a platoon there of those two guys. I think the Giants haven't made it like a straight platoon type thing, but I think Jonah can hit righties down the line as well. But if Harrison Bader's not available next year or not available at the start of next year, or there's some real battle here over scooters and contracts and all that.
Look, I'll be honest, I don't see a world where Harrison Bader's playing on this team again. I'm just saying that from the point of view of an uninformed podcast host. I'm not an insider. I'd say Drew Gilbert's more likely to be the guy.
I'd be very surprised. And I honestly think, like, given that they have like 17 pitching holes to fill, Drew Gilbert and Jonah Cox in center field, I'm like totally cool with that.
Check it out.
And if it ends up being Bo Davidson or Dakota Jordan in a year, cool. But like, I think they're totally fine in center field right now.
Yeah.
And then the last thing, this was before everything kind of went to hell. I don't know if you noticed this. The ump's mic didn't work on a challenge in the ninth inning.
Oh, yeah.
And there were so few people still at the game that you could hear him through the field mics.
You could hear him.
Which is just not... I want to talk about the concept of a rebuild a little bit later as we talk about the pitching, but I was reminded of, I think, the smartest thing you've ever said on this podcast, which was that this is what a rebuild looks like.
Yes. Fans are not allowed to complain too much when we've been begging for a rebuild for a decade.
Yeah, and I mean, not like specifically giving up 7 runs in the 9th inning, but just this series when the crowds were very small. It was very quiet at the ballpark, and I'm not blaming anyone. I probably pretty good time to give tickets back to other people.
Don't know a ton of people who are taking off work for a Wednesday day game against the Reds right now.
But this is just, I will continue to hammer that point that you made, that this is what, and not every, the Dodgers would come in and it would be fun or whatever. But there would be a lot of series like this if you take a step back for a full year.
Yeah. And it's crystal clear why they haven't been willing to. Those are the kind of interesting, silly, not even necessary negative things that happened this series, but there were a few bright spots. You already mentioned Drew Gilbert. You briefly mentioned Jonah Cox, but Jonah Cox had a couple of home runs as well. How about some Carson Seymour love, Alex?
Yeah, first career save. He's pitched better the last couple of weeks, kind of elevating a little bit. We talked about Trent Harris, that just continues to be intriguing with the strikeouts, but Carson Seymour in August, 13 innings, 3 earned runs, 12 strikeouts, still 5 walks and a couple homers. But he's trending in the right direction. And he just kind of, he has the look of a guy who, like, if he figures it out, like, all of a sudden, we always talk about those guys who come in with other teams. You're like, who's this big 6'5" guy throwing 98 and has a 1.7 ERA?
Where did he come from?
Yeah. So maybe Seymour turns into, but I think he's elevated to our list of, like, hey, we'd like to see more of Trent Harris down the stretch. I think I'd like to see more of Carson Seymour. And
we'd like to see more?
Yeah, see more. Exactly. Yeah.
And then one more name on our bright spots list, and that, of course, is Rafi Devers. Home run series for Devers. He was teeing off. He's up to 28, just a few shy of the 30 milestone that Willy Adames broke last year. Are we coming around? Like, obviously, the WAR isn't fully there. Most importantly, the Giants' record is not there since Devers joined the team. But what he's doing individually, what are we thinking these days?
I do think it's fair to, like, he's now having a really good season. I do think it's fair to just point out that so much of what has happened this year is because of how bad the offense was in April.
Yeah.
When they needed, when they're trying to put this bullpen together on the fly and trying to mix some of these new guys in, and they needed Willie Adames and Rafi Devers and Matt Chapman, and they weren't there. And like we've talked about this a bunch, like that led probably directly to the Patrick Bailey trade. It's just needing offense and not being able to handle that. And so I think that's part of this, and you have to be fair about that. I also think he's going to end up having a really good season, and I give him a lot of credit right now. I mean, he is also on an island. He plays every day. He plays through discomfort. He's been DHing the last couple of weeks because his legs aren't totally under him. But he's a really, really good hitter, and he's one of those guys who is truly like fully Oracle Park proof when he's going right. And there's not a lot of those. And there's the Otanis and the Judges and the guys the Giants have chased. And this is, you can 100% see the last few months. But I think on this homestand in this series, you can see why Buster wanted this guy and was willing to take on the contract. And he's just a really, really good hitter when he's right. He's one of the best hitters in the league and someone who's capable of kind of carrying a lineup. So it's cool that that's come around. I think my whole thing with Devers, and obviously there were some trade talks and they did have conversations about him, is that my whole thing with him is just there's so much left on his contract and so many years left on that contract. And him and Bryce Eldridge do play the same position. Now, one can DH and probably long term, I think Rafi's probably going to be pretty comfortable doing that. But this is an organization that has restrictions on the way they spend. So I think that's always been the thing you and I have talked about is like, if you have Bryce Eldridge at first for the next 10, 15 years, do you need to be paying your DH $30 million a year?
Yeah.
But he's a really good hitter, and there's a world next year or the year after, if he's still in his prime like this, where him and Eldridge are doing this together, and it's, I don't know, 70 homers combined. Like that's really exciting to think about. But
absolutely,
it's also kind of like in a weird way, you also watch this and you go like, man, you're like wasting a prime year of Rafael Devers, which he's been a part of as well. But you kind of assume down the line the contract's going to hurt. So you want to take advantage of these early years.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's at his season high for OPS right now. These past few weeks have been an absolute delight. Would have been really nice to have the home run every game of the series in Boston rather than against the Reds. But hey, we'll take what we can get.
Yeah, and there are a lot of games in April where if some of this was there from him, and we've had this conversation about Willie as well, like seasons are weird, you get off to a good start and confidence builds, and you guys might start feeling a little bit better about them. You're in a different position, you hang around the race a little bit more. They got off to the opposite start, and he's going to have a really good season. He's a really good player. I also think it's fair to mention, that they need some. It's the same thing we talk about Willie all the time. Like he's okay. He gets going at some point. This is 2 years in a row. The slow start has really made it difficult for the team. So maybe the lockout year, these guys will show up in like June and just be ready to go.
Ready to rip. Yeah. That's how it works. When the season is over, we're debriefing how this all looks, and we start to get to our like low lights or like lowest points, worst moments of the season. Do you think blowing the sweep in the 9th podiums tops the list? I mean, there's been some serious low lights.
This one?
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's on the podium.
Okay. I mean, the double walk-off is obviously in the mix.
Yeah. Harrison Bader is going to be tough to.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't even thinking about the off-the-field stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's really fresh right now. And ultimately, like, the sweep thing doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Like it's not great to go through a season without a sweep. They'll get another crack at it on Monday.
Fingers crossed.
Great series. But yeah, I think it's just more the way this went down. And, you do have that first sweep there. And also you have, even sweep aside, like that's a really good 3-game winning streak. And it ends up being a really good series win given all that went on for them. But
yeah,
that's like a really nice 3 days for them. And I think we're 25 minutes in. Like I think the collapse there just kind of overshadows and just makes it really easy for just to keep this negative train going.
Yeah, it would have been nice to, like you said, even if the get the sweep off their backs thing wasn't a huge issue right now, it would have been nice to have that positive energy.
Yeah.
A few days tomorrow at work, talking with your coworkers, your fellow Giants fans, about how the team looks good for once. The team fought through some adversity, but instead, there's a lot of talking that's going to be happening. It's just going to be kind of like chuckling at the team for another disaster.
Yeah. I mean, it's just really like you're putting everyone through the ringer. So
Yeah.
you're just the fans who did tune in today and the fans who are going this weekend and even the players. Like, think of somebody like Logan Webb who
Yeah.
goes out there, pitches today, and they swap things around and he pitches well and does his job. And he's in the clubhouse and he looks up and they have a 6-run lead and probably was like, okay, good to go. We
Yeah.
got our sweep, got the win, and
Yeah.
just a collapse. So
I saw quite a few social media posts on various platforms about people announcing the sweep prematurely. I almost went into our rundown to like start prepping for the podcast and put giant sweep. I did not though, so I am not taking any blame.
what was that number from earlier? 2002-08 or something like that.
Yep.
2002-08 and 0 when leading by 6. So yeah, it this is just a season. There's been 10 things this season that I've just never seen before.
Yeah.
And this is one where you can go, no, you literally have just never seen this before. This the San Francisco Giants and even going back to the New York Giants have never done this before.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. That is Giants versus Reds. A very odd series overall, ending in the most odd and devastating way possible. Let's talk roster moves before we get to questions from listeners and Giants versus D-backs. Our first one, Willie Adames, officially to the IL after kind of lingering around the outskirts of it for a while.
Yeah, it's probably there's a chance this is season ending and it's not going to end up being the back. It's going to be a left UCL injury. The good news for him is non-throwing arm. So we'll see what the rehab looks like for him in the plan. But I mean, we're literally 1 month and 1 day away from the end of the season.
Yeah.
So this is anyone right now who has any sort of serious injury, you get pretty close to, okay, season's over. Hopefully he doesn't need some sort of procedure on it, because even though it's his non-throwing arm, that still, sets you back into your off season and keeps you from having. Yeah, and Willie is someone I think who gets after it pretty early in the offseason. So
yeah,
we'll see what that means.
We already mentioned 2 injuries to Giants starting pitchers. Carson Whisenhunt is having Tommy John, and Adrian Hauser has a flexor strain. Let's start with Carson Whisenhunt, Alex. What does this mean for the Giants, and why does it feel like we're just seeing Tommy John across the board lately?
Well, for Carson, it means 2027 is going to be spent rehabbing.
Okay.
He's going to be right behind Trevor. He's going to be right there with Trevor McDonald, a few weeks behind him in this process. He is trying to figure out like who specifically will do the surgery. And I talked to him today. He's in great spirits, like handling this really well. I think in a weird way, this is so common now that, Trevor McDonald was kind of the same way. Like guys just kind of know that at some point in their career, this is probably going to happen. It sucks for him. He was throwing really well the other night, and it's been inconsistent for him, but had a chance to keep himself kind of in the conversation for maybe the 5th spot next year, or as we've talked about, like with the velocity he showed at times this year in that changeup, like there's a really good reliever path there probably for him. Next year. So now it's going to be spent rehabbing. Randy Rodriguez, Hayden Birdsong, Trevor McDonald, Carson Whisenhunt over the past calendar year, all having elbow surgery. It is not, I know it's easy for people to point at training staffs, coaching staffs. I think the Giants have made a ton of mistakes this year. This is just part of it. Like, go look through the Dodgers roster and every young pitcher they have has had surgery.
Yeah, and isn't the prevailing theory this is just guys throwing gas from way younger ages than they used to? Like,
I mean, this is throwing gas, throwing harder as they get older, adding. I think that, some of these guys even talk about that. Like, but it's also, how do you not try to throw 97 from the left side? Like
Yeah.
um, and that's how you can be a really good big leaguer. So it's tough. This is just kind of so common, and I think the main thing that sticks out to me is actually how the Giants have really not had to deal with this until the last year. I mean, they've, like, Logan had it in the minors, Keaton Wynn had it in the minors, Johnny Cueto was a notable one in the big leagues. There's been some other guys, but like Tyler Beatty, but like you go back to the championship years and Tim Lincecum, Matt Cain, Madison Bumgarner getting through that whole era, and none of them ever needing Tommy John. Like, granted, guys are throwing different now, but like that happens now, it's a miracle.
Yeah.
You get that. So yeah, I would say look at the Braves, look at the Dodgers, look at some of these other teams. Like, this is just extremely common now, unfortunately.
Now, less serious, but still notable, Adrian Hauser left the game on Tuesday, flexor strain. What do we know about that one?
Yeah, he was pretty optimistic. I've heard just on my own that they were pretty optimistic. Now, they haven't gotten the MRI result, or they have, but they haven't made it public yet. So sometimes you actually go in that tube and you see something you did not expect. But they were pretty optimistic. He's had this before in his career. It cost him about 2 months last time. So I would think at the very least season ending. It's a bummer for him because he was pitching really well and put himself in a position to try to, I think, win back a rotation spot over the next month. So we'll see where this goes for him. But they really need good news on that one because they're like out of pitching depth. They're like completely out. And there's a 2027 conversation to be had of we can dig into it more in the offseason, but there is, you have Logan Webb and Landon Roop and Blade Tidwell now at the big league level. There is nothing behind him.
Yeah.
There's Matt Wilkinson. Maybe he looks probably like more of a reliever at the big league level. Joe Whitman's in AAA. I think the Giants have also wondered if maybe his future is as a reliever. Maybe that changes now with the depth, but there's just not. They have tremendous depth in Eugene. It's a really good rotation in Eugene. They have Jackson Flora coming. They have these high school guys they drafted. But for next year specifically, it's going to be really hard to piece together a rotation from what they have. And that means I think there's 3 paths here. One is you go spend in free agency, which we don't think is that likely. 2 is you make a big trade, which I think is probably the best path for them. And they're really well positioned to do that with their prospects. And it's going to hurt, but you pick one of these infielders, you pick one of whoever, probably pick one of these shortstops, the one who you don't see a position for 3 years down the line, and trade him for a good pitcher.
What about the other option of like the Joe Nathan route and just calling up some infielders in single A and saying, hey, you're pitchers now?
That was not on my list. That could work as well, though. Huge Joe Nathan fan growing up. My third option, and this goes back to what we talked about earlier, is you could just kind of say we don't see a realistic path to putting together a rotation and bullpen next year that can compete.
Yeah.
Maybe you step back a little bit and trade some more guys and, sign guys on 1-year deals that you anticipate flipping at the deadline. And just it's really like they're really behind the 8 ball now in terms of putting together a rotation and a bullpen. Now, I don't think they'll do that, but I think all these injuries just make it maybe more of a conversation than it would have been because there's just not a lot of depth. And you're going to need, like, to get through a season, you're probably going to need 10 starters. And they're like, where do they come from?
Yeah.
Here. So,
yeah. Well, as if this offseason wasn't going to be interesting enough, another important element as the Giants lose another 2027 pitcher to Tommy John. Obviously, we'll be keeping our eye on that. Alex, we have questions from listeners. We obviously have a D-back series to preview. But first, Giants Talk is presented by Mancini Sleep World. You can save up to $1,200 on top cooling mattresses like Casper, Helix, and Tempur-Pedic. Plus, Beauty Sleep Queen mattresses starting at $290 and 0% financing on Tempur-Pedic starting at $29 a month. You'll be over the moon with a new mattress from Mancini's Sleep World. Okay, let's start with some questions from listeners here on Giants Talk. As always, if you have a question for Alex or myself, send it wherever you can find us on social media. We'll add it to our list and use it on an upcoming episode. Our first one is from Thistle. What's the impact and logistics of a manager getting ejected these days? Are they essentially able to ghost manage from the clubhouse, or are they just watching on TV like the rest of us?
Yeah, I don't think this has ever changed. That if you want to ghost manage, it's really easy.
Yeah.
One, you're not too far away on your own, but like it's just really easy to send a message through a trainer, through a reliever, through.
Now, is that like under the table? Are they officially not supposed to be communicating in any way?
I don't think you're supposed to be, but if I don't know who would be the example here. Drew Gilbert's not in this game, so Drew Gilbert's not starting.
Yeah.
If Tony happens to tell Drew Gilbert,
hey, what I would do in this situation
going up to the bathroom, like, hey, can you tell Jace Tingler this, and this? I mean, who's gonna know, right?
Yeah.
I do think Tony looked like maybe he worked out during the game. I get some anger out. I think
that's smart. That's kind of what I picture them doing is like, all right, I'm having a whiskey and lifting some weights now.
Yeah. I think it depends on the situation. I mean, I know there were times where Bruce Bochy was certainly probably passing messages. I think there were other times where it's like, whoa, this is yours. Going. But this has always been one of those funny things. Like, there's not stopping anybody from it. There's so many people behind the scenes. Like, it'd be so easy to send messages back and forth.
Was it Bobby Valentine who put on a fake mustache and came into the dugout? That's a classic.
Yeah. Hasn't happened for a while. But
someone needs to bring that one back just for fun.
Yeah.
Gross says, do the Giants have a substation near players' elbows? Substation conspiracy theory has made its way to baseball.
We need to use whatever power we have as Giants Talk hosts to just like, you either make that joke in the first 5 seconds or people are coming up like 2 days later and be like, Carson Wisenhunt at the substation. We get it. Everyone's made the joke a million times. I feel like it's run its course.
Yeah.
So
no more substation talk.
I just haven't seen a good substation joke in like 2 years.
I was going to say, yeah, this is not a new Niners joke either.
Yeah, and it's even like the people were making the joke on Giants Twitter earlier this year. So it's just always funny to be like, you can go under my tweets and there will be people like 2 days later after an injury update, like, there no Oracle Park had a substation next to it. I'm like, oh, banger.
That's the funniest man on Twitter right there.
You really got that one off. So if you're thinking of making substation jokes, just maybe, take a step back and be like, is this really funny still?
I think it's funny. I think you guys should send whatever amount of substation jokes you're sending Alex, double it.
Keep sending it to me?
Yeah, double it.
It's honestly not the worst thing I'll see on my mentions now. So
yes, fair. James says, I saw that Eric Miller hasn't allowed a run since the trade. Is it time to revisit that one?
Speaking of my mentions, I keep getting retweeted into Red Sox Twitter, and it is the pettiest place on earth. Like they are actively rooting against Marcelo Meyer. Like,
yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, like I got cornered at the bar outside Fenway, and dude just wanted to rant about Marcelo Meyer. He's just a 22-year-old who wants to party.
It's wild. They're like, there's people in every single Marcelo Meyer update I tweet. There's people, somehow it ends up on Boston. Someone retweets it into Boston Twitter, and like 3 days later, some guy with, no profile picture is just like, he's never going to be healthy. He's never been healthy.
Never.
Settle down, Boston. Eric Miller.
Wait, I will say, though, really makes you appreciate Giants fans a little more. Shout out Giants fans. You guys are great.
I think there's a little more like rooting for guys when they leave. And,
yes.
This is like really vindictive.
Hatred.
Yeah, it's crazy. He brought you guys Eric Miller. Be happy about it.
Yeah.
The Eric Miller thing, can I rant again? I think a lot of people are trying to get engagement on Giants Twitter by being like, oh my God, look at Eric Miller. Do you know what Eric Miller did the 14 appearances before he got traded? He didn't give up a run. Like, if you want to tweet about Eric Miller, go look at Eric Miller in July. He was awesome.
There's a reason they wanted him.
there is a reason the Giants were able to trade him for a 23-year-old who, even though people in Boston are petty about it, was a 4th overall pick in a top 15 prospect for years.
Yeah.
And like, there's a reason the Giants were able to make that deal. Eric Miller was really good there are actual conversations to be had. Like, Tyler Malley's been great in Atlanta. And if you dig into the pitch stuff, it's like pretty clear that they changed him.
Yeah.
And just found a fix right away.
But Miller came fixed.
Miller came awesome and is still awesome and good for him. But like, anyone who's pretending this wasn't there for like 6 weeks before the trade, he was the closer when they traded him.
Yeah.
He was really good.
Yeah. Next question's from Chad. Chad says, a few years ago, I kayaked the Cove for the first time. Matt Chapman drove one deep to right, and suddenly a ball splashed right next to me. The guy on the paddleboard next to me dove in and grabbed it. Then we looked at the replay. Chapman had doubled off the wall. So apparently a fan saw the ball coming towards us and threw a different baseball into the Cove to mess with everyone. Is that a regular McCovey Cove prank? Now, Alex, do you remember during the Bonds home run chase eras, it seemed like there would be 14 balls thrown into the water every time Bonds hit one in the air. And I found it funny every time.
See, that I think is funny. Especially because it hasn't been done much anymore. If you want to make a substation joke, come to the ballpark. I'll give you a baseball. And you can go hang out on the port walk and wait for the right moment.
Yes, I am all for this joke. I think this is so much fun. And even funnier when it is a splash hit and now there's 2 balls and we have chaos.
Do you think the TV has ruined it? Like,
I bet it kind of has. The kayakers now have a TV. But it still plays, because out there when that ball hits the water, I've been out there when a ball lands in the water, it's chaos. You're not looking at the TV.
Yeah.
Keep doing this, people. Chad, sorry you got pranked by it, but I am all for this one.
If you want to throw it very near one specific person and prank him, all for it.
All for it. Nick says, when you talk about shortstop next year and the year after that, you jump straight to Jossoir. I know he's special and doing great in San Jose, but what about Johnny Level and Gavin Keelan? Aren't they 1 or 2 years ahead?
Well, Johnny Level's a few months ahead of him.
Mm-hmm.
He's in Eugene right now. Like, Joshua is hitting well enough that they could probably promote him if they wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not too far. Gavin Keelan's is in AA. Like, he's well ahead of him. I do think we talk about those guys. I just think, from what I've heard from Giants people, from what I've heard from scouts, from what most people in the industry believe, is that they are more likely to end up at other positions. Now, there could be a world where one of them plays shortstop temporarily in the big leagues. The 2 guys, it's not just Joshua. Luis Hernandez is also a better shortstop prospect. So those guys are very good prospects. They've had very good years. I think they're most likely to end up in other positions. I think Joshua is so good defensively. That I don't know that no one's going to be able to, I think, take that job from him if he hits enough to be in the big leagues, which he is doing right now. So the other thing here is there's going to be a conversation at some point with Willie, and I don't know that it's going to be when like Gavin Keelan reaches the big leagues. Like, I think it's just probably a little bit further down the line when the 2 kids who are in San Jose right now are a little bit closer. So but they're all really good, and one of them's probably going to end up at second base. I think one of them's probably going to end up in the outfield. So
I was really hoping you were just going to drop our Giants Talk classic of he's in San Jose right now, and these things have a way of figuring themselves out.
It will, and I'll go back to what I said. The easiest path to get a really good starter next year is to rip the Band-Aid off and trade one of these top 100 guys. And just, and honestly, like,
I'm out.
You're out?
I'm out. Don't blow that on 2027. If you're talking about like a 2028 or 9 starter, we're not a 1 starter away from mattering.
No. Has to be controllable. Like, has to be someone who's got 3-4 years left. But they have multiple players, like 3, 4, 5 position players who can headline a big time deal.
Yeah.
And not to trade any specific guy, but just like somebody like Johnny Level can be the centerpiece of a big contract if you decide that that's the way you have to go. So, or one of the other guys. But I do think they're probably at some point going to have to do it. And also, that's part of the reason you stockpile. You keep
Talent.
going after it, and they will go after as much international talent as they can next year as well.
Yeah. All right. One more question today. Amanda says, where are the adults in the room re MLB partnering with betting/gambling companies? We've seen it cause problems already. Is anyone pushing back? I think this is a great question. I believe this is, of course, referring to it being announced that the Giants are one of the 5 MLB teams who announced a partnership with Kalshi today, the predictions market gambling app that has taken the world by storm. We've talked about gambling quite a bit on this podcast, from how it is impacting the way players interact with fans, the way fans root for the sport, the way gambling advertisements, which were once like completely foreign in sports and just a dirty word, are now shoved in our faces in MLB sponsored apps and websites. I was shocked when I saw this news. I did not think that, not even that it was the Giants, but that 5 of the biggest MLB teams, save the Yankees, like some of the most historic teams, are now cozied up in bed with, I don't know, what I would say is a fairly disgusting business and app.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really a gambler. I have seen, I think a lot of the things I hear on social media are from people who are angry about gambling.
Yeah.
I mean, I've gotten messages from people who are really angry that a pitcher gets hurt and they didn't get their whatever prop bet they made.
Yeah.
So if I'm seeing that, I can't imagine how many messages the players are getting. And I've talked to guys about this. Like they get truly horrific messages from people who I think a lot of them are not necessarily Giants fans who are upset about the team. They're upset because they lost their bet. So I think every time you and I have talked about this, we've said that we kind of think something bad's going to happen at some point. And this is going down a really slippery slope. And I wasn't surprised. I wouldn't have been my choice. So I wasn't surprised though. I mean, this is kind of where everything's going. It's wild. Like you go to like a Nationals game and there's gambling right there. Like there's like by the parking lot. So there's other ballparks that are the same way. It's weird. I guess we're just wary about it because we kind of, both of us have talked to enough people and know enough that we know that players are getting a lot of pushback on this stuff and probably headed in a bad direction.
Already I'm like raising red flags and raising eyebrows at how much FanDuel and those kind of gambling have gotten involved with baseball. But Kalshi, which is like, lets you bet on crazy stuff all over the world, super controversial and messed up stuff. Why is that who we need to be in the mix with?
I think the Giants are
I know the answer. There's a check with numbers on it, and they said, "Hey, yeah."
So
there's no soul to sell anymore.
No, it's I mean, it was right front and center today during the game. It's right behind them. So I don't know. And the weird thing for me is like we've actually seen one of like the 5 best relievers in the world was like done because of gambling. Class A in Cleveland. So we've actually seen players and really good players start to
That's a great point. That really didn't have the ramifications around the league that I thought at the time it was going to.
And look, I mean, you can think what there's all sorts of different sides on the Ohtani thing. That is like a massive gambling story.
Yes.
And it's whether you think it was him or whether it was his interpreter, it's like a massive gambling story that just kind of never led to any change. So very strange for me.
Yeah. I don't have an answer for Amanda. I think the adults in the rooms have dollar signs in their eyes, which, is what it is.
Yeah.
Those are our mailbag questions for the day. We have more. Sorry if we haven't gotten to yours yet, but if you have one, send it our way. Let's wrap up this section with a Mike Krukow memory sent to us from Paul. Paul says, I can't recall the year, but guessing it was 84 or 85. A sportscaster on the late local news reported that there were rumors that Mike Krukow's name was being floated for a potential trade as the trade deadline approached. Kruk, clearly annoyed by the suggestion, said, paraphrasing, "That's crazy. I'm a Giant and will always be a Giant." That's a moment that has always stuck with me, and I'm guessing even he didn't realize how those words would come to define his life. That's pretty awesome, imagining Mike Krukow 5+ years before retiring as a player, already seeing the tea leaves, seeing where this was going, and he's a Giant for life.
4+ decades now. So
that's right.
Yeah,
incredible. All right, we got Giants versus D-backs. We just wrapped up a weird series against the Reds, and already shaping up to be a weird series against the D-backs. D-backs are sandwiched right now in between the Padres and Giants in the NL West. A lot closer to one of those teams than the other. I think they're only a half game behind the Padres and dozen or two games ahead of the Giants.
Yeah. It's they have D-backs are 8-1 against the Giants this year.
Okay.
One of many issues for the Giants this season. It's a weird series. There's Thursday game, Friday game, and then doubleheader on Saturday, and a true like split doubleheader. Like I think it's 1 o'clock and 7, right?
How many doubleheaders have you covered?
Probably like one a year.
I love a good doubleheader. I miss the era of like doubleheaders being regular. This is just a thing we do sometimes for fun occurrences.
Yeah, like not a lot at Oracle.
Yeah,
maybe 2, but
yeah,
quite a few on the road, especially you get in those Midwest cities and
where it rains.
Friday night in Pittsburgh gets rained out, and it's like, well, nobody wants to come back to Pittsburgh in 3 months. So, no offense, not Pittsburgh, but just like you don't want to come back. So it's So they'll squeeze those in. The pain of a doubleheader when you're covering the team is that almost never does it get decided beforehand. So you kind of sit through the whole night on like a Friday.
That's fair.
And they're like, hey, guess what? Doubleheader tomorrow.
Double duty tomorrow.
But as a ballpark food guy, for me, it's like, all right, go walk around the park for 2 hours.
Yeah. This, of course, got added because of the Braves game getting rained out earlier in the month, rescheduled for Monday. So now they get an off day on Sunday. Honestly, it seems like a doubleheader and then an off day is just as taxing as 2 regular games to me.
Yeah, I think the issue was travel more than
that's fair.
Anything, and trying to get them to the East Coast, and then there's a trip after that. So this has been on their mind for a little bit, and I actually, they actually had it kind of all planned out. I think like a week ago, and including the Matt Wilkinson option, and knowing he'll come back as the 27th guy, and they had it all planned out. What they did not have planned out was losing like
all their pitchers,
or not just all their pitchers, but also Willie and Victor Barracoto. Yeah. So I'm very curious to see what those 18 innings look like just from like a pitching standpoint.
Yeah. Well, speaking of pitchers, do we have anyone lined up already? Who can you confirm?
We have Roop, who got pushed back a day with Blade Tidwell, and then a lot of TBDs. Diamondbacks are a little bit in flux too. They have some guys coming back from the injured list. So
okay,
we'll see what ends up being.
I do know we have Merrill Kelly slotted in for game 2 of the doubleheader. Did you see the video of Merrill Kelly getting into it over tipping pitches?
Kind of. Is one of those things I like half watched and was like, all right, I'm good.
So, it was fun. I liked it a lot. It was he was accusing the Cubs third base coach of tipping, and he would not, even after he got pulled from the game. He just stood there at the railing and stared daggers at the coach for innings.
Yes. I know. I saw a lot of those teams going at each other for a couple days. So, we'll see. Giants be on alert on Saturday.
Be on alert. We might have another spicy series. On the promotions front, Thursday is a Pokemon drone show. Saturday, Jung-Hoo Lee bobblehead, and then Saturday game 2, Jeff Kent Hall of Fame replica ring. And Jeff Kent ceremony celebration.
The ring's cool. I saw it.
It looks cool. It looks like rustic and old school. I like it a lot.
Really cool. Big big promotions day on Saturday. So big weekend. I think they have something Thursday too, don't they?
Pokemon thing.
Oh, Thursday. Yeah. Yeah. So it's big weekend for promotions.
Yeah. So big weekend at the park. Shout out to everyone who's going to do the double dip on the double header. That's always a fun day in the city. Enjoy that. And Giants Talk will be back to cover a 1-game series and then another. We'll box those in together. We're not going to drop an episode just for the Braves series.
Yeah, I guess we need to figure out. I think we'll probably be back Monday morning.
Yeah,
it's going to be a Braves. We'll mix the Braves in with.
We're not going to do an emergency pod if they sweep.
So Elias Sports Bureau says they already have the sweep because they do not count this as a 3-game series. They're counting it as a 2-game series and a 1-game one-off.
I don't want to tell Elias Sports Bureau how to do their job, but they're objectively wrong.
The Giants Talk Sports Bureau says this is no chance that
who are you gonna trust?
It's the Giants PR told us that this morning, and basically to a man and to a woman on the beat, we were like, no, there's not a single person who covers this team who is going to call that 2-game series a sweep already.
No, nice try.
So yeah, I think it'll probably be Logan in Atlanta with a chance to sweep that. And you know what? That'd be a great fit if you're going to get the 1 sweep in 2026 to sweep one of the best teams in baseball and have it be separated by multiple months.
Just in a year of everything being weird, to get their 1 sweep in the weirdest possible way would be the way to pull it off in 2026.
We will not emergency pod, but we will discuss. So.
I might pod solo if you don't want to do it.
Maybe we'll, if there's no podcast Monday morning in your feed.
Yeah, now you know why.
Cole was so excited that he said we're waiting until after this game.
No, we'll see. All right. Either way, Giants Talk will be back next week and back as we wind this season down with more episodes. And then we got a long, fun off season ahead of us. Don't forget to subscribe to Giants Talk wherever you listen to your podcast. Give us a glowing review if you're a fan. Skip the review if you're not. Buy Alex's book. Send us mailbag questions. Do all of the things. And we'll be back.